I like salad. Do you like salad?
Hi, I'm Hostion Ho. I'm living in Vancouver, BC, Canada, unceded territory of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I am an immigrant to Canada from China.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrea coming to you from Victoria, but more importantly known as unceded Akwesasne territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, and I am an immigrant from the United States of America. And you're listening to
Canadian Salad.
Canadian Salad. Hey everybody.
Hi everyone.
Back. Hi. Yay. Woo, woo, woo. How are you, Hoshin?
I am very good. I am holding on because it's really cold outside.
Yes,
I'm a tropical baby, so this is cold for me.
So you can't wear your crop tops downtown? Is that what you're saying?
That's another reason why I'm like,
lame.
I had to put myself together because I cannot wear booty shorts and crop tops.
Dang. Oh, I'm sure as soon as you get into your apartment, you're like, all right, crop top, here we go.
No, I wear nothing in my apartment.
Well, thank you for wearing something right now. I appreciate it.
Yes, I want for you always. Because maybe Lincoln will walk into the camera. I don't know.
Indeed. It's
your
hard
son,
to know.
I don't want your son to see me naked.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, so do you know what we're going to talk about today?
Well, I think it has something to do with full bellies and food.
Oh, exactly. Today we're going to talk about food and culture's relationship together.
Oh my gosh, this is exciting.
Yeah.
This is something that is really exciting
relate
for me.
To everyone.
Well, it can relate to everyone, but also for myself growing up in a very low income household and Western diet, I just think that there was a lot of things that I missed out on only because we didn't have necessarily the resources to have more exciting meals. So anyway, so I'm excited to learn about all these different cultural things in the relationship to food.
Yeah. If I talk about food, what is your favorite meal?
Oh gosh.
What struck you?
Yeah.
What kind of food item would struck you?
I think I found a favorite food late into my adulthood because, growing up, we had 4 major food groups: canned, boxed, frozen, or instant. So those were kind of our food groups because processed food is so cheap. And like, and my dad was the only person working. We were living in a mobile home, which is kind of like it's like a glorified apartment made out of tin, very thin, very cold. So it actually wasn't until later when I was on my own and I was making my own food that I found a food that I just absolutely adore and love. It's mashed sweet potatoes with maple syrup and bacon.
Oh.
It's sweet and smooth and salty. And it's just it's warm and comforting. And honestly, there's no memory. It's not like, and then my son said, I love you, Mom. And that was why the food was amazing. I don't know why, but it just tasted so good. I think there's just a variety of flavors on my palate that
it's a celebration in your mouth.
Yeah. So I feel like this journey with food is brand new for me in many ways. So
okay, wow, that is, I mean, I can relate to some of that, like being poor. Like my family was also really poor when I was younger, but we never had frozen food.
Yeah, I mean,
it's also a cultural thing. I was from the South.
It is. And well, we'll get into that. But how about you, Hoshin? Do you have like your favorite meal and why would it be your favorite meal? Can you tell everyone listening?
Yes, my favorite is very simple. Well, not really simple actually. It takes forever to make. Congee.
Okay.
For people who doesn't know, for
Yeah.
people who doesn't know or never had congee, congee is this kind of rice. Think of like porridge, but made with rice and usually way more liquid than porridge. It's not mashed potato kind of texture. It's more liquidy.
Okay.
It's like
soupy?
soupy, more soupy, and then just made with rice, just rice and water. That's it. That's the most simple form of congee. But congee, most people eat it, put many different things in it. It can be sweet, it can be salty. Whatever you put in it, it can be any flavor. And in the South, we usually eat savory. In the North, sometimes we eat sweet. Well, sometimes we eat sweet too, but normally we eat this savory. And my mom likes to make it when I'm sick specifically, because it's just
Oh,
because
yeah.
it has so much liquid in it. So it's like, when you're sick,
Hydrating.
usually you're hydrating, really important. That's one. And
Yeah.
also it's like a cheap food.
Mm,
It only need a very small amount of rice, and then and then need a lot of water, and then it's
okay.
filling, even though there's not much substance, but it's really filling. And
Okay.
then when you're sick, you have no much appetite, you don't want to eat
Right.
anything heavy. Congee is the best
Right.
option. So every
Wow.
time, like, yeah, for me, it's so comforting. It's like my comfort food. I think many Asians, Chinese or even Asians would probably also see congee as a comfort food because
Mm,
it's cozy, it's warm, and then
it does sound,
you usually eat it when you're like not feeling, under the weather. So it's
mm.
like, yeah, it's like a
Like
hug. It's
being
like a warm
cared
hug.
for. You're being
Yeah,
cared for and yeah,
you're being
taken
cared
care
for.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, and then usually it takes a couple hours to make. It's so much effort into it as well.
Okay. Okay.
It's Yeah, because you have to break down the rice takes forever. But now you have like
Okay.
pressure cooker, it's almost
Right.
instant, right?
It's in,
But
yeah.
before it takes
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my favorite food. Simple. Simple.
Wow. Very cool. Wow. So, I mean, food is all these things. I mean, would you, in your mind, how would you maybe describe, yeah, what are some kind of key ideas around food and its relationship to culture?
I think everyone agrees on that, that food has such a social element to it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
yeah, like
For
well, of
sure.
course, we're gonna have research to back that up. As anyone who listens to our podcast know, we love research.
We do. We're so smart. Mm.
I stumbled upon this research really nice. Is in 2017, Harvard University had this research about food and the relationship of food and social, like how we
Oh,
social
okay.
around food. The results are very interesting. Like I just mentioned, most people agree that food, like this kind of eating around a table, is such a social activity. And
Yeah.
in the research, also find out like 75% of the respondents recognize that making an effort to see someone more often was best done by sharing a meal. That means most of us agree on this. Meeting someone, hang out with someone often, the best option of it is sharing a meal, which is
That's so true.
yeah, very easy to understand, because usually when I hang out with a friend, my first idea also is, let's eat something, have a coffee, have a dessert, have
Mm-hmm.
dinner,
Yeah.
So most
Yeah.
of us agree on that. And also, the research also suggests that this kind of communal eating increases social bonding and feeling of well-being, and enhance one's sense of contentedness and embedding within the community. So it helps
Mm.
us to be psychologically like feeling better. It helps us to create social bonds, and and feeling the embrace of a community, and making us feel more belonged.
Yeah.
So it's all these things. So eating together is a great thing for our mind, for our social circle as well. It's
Yeah.
such a catalyst in some sense.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
But despite that, we all know how important it is, the survey also shows that many meals are actually eaten alone nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like the research says a third of weekday evening meals are eaten in isolation. The
Mm.
average adult eats 10 meals out of 21 alone every week. That means half the meal people eat alone,
I wonder
half the
how many
time.
of those are in the car alone.
Oh, in
Right,
the
with
car.
all
Ooh.
right, with all the drive-throughs now that
Oh,
exist here in
true.
North America, I do wonder where,
Rushing
yeah,
to
I gotta
work or like
eat on
going
my way to the
home.
meeting or, on my way home because it's a long drive or whatever. Yeah, I wonder what the
Yeah,
research is there. But yeah, that is sad,
that
which
is very sad.
perpetuates
Yeah.
more loneliness and isolation, especially for immigrants who might be coming to Canada. It's we eat together and, Joe Schmo Canadian bro is like, oh man, I'm just gonna get him Mickey D's.
I know,
I'll
like,
I'll I'll
and
meet you at the bowling alley. He talks like that too, by the way.
oh, great character,
You're
impersonation. Love
welcome.
that. Yeah, there's even more specific data into like how lonely when it comes to like this eating food culture nowadays it becomes for us. For example,
Yeah.
69% of those who questioned had never shared a meal with any of their neighbors. 37% had
Yeah.
never eaten with a community group,
Yeah.
while a fifth So 20% ish of people said it had never that it had been more than 6 months since they had shared a meal with their parents.
Yeah. I mean, this is a Harvard study, so it's surveying, I believe, the United States,
Well, actually,
which
it's in the UK.
oh, the UK,
The
which
UK is conducting
is
UK. Yeah, very similar.
yeah,
I will
which it
assume.
yeah,
Yeah,
individualistic kind of
yeah.
culture, not a
I
collectivist. Yeah, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would assume, yeah, if this we should conduct in Asia, I would hope also would be very different.
Oh yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. I think
but
so.
the reason though, they do have reasons for that. It comes up to is mostly because of busy lives and hectic work schedules are the main courses of
Sure.
the kind of solidarity dinner trends. But
Mm.
and I think maybe in major city that's specifically true. Like if those two reasons are the reasons of this trend, if you put that in China, big city is probably going to be the same actually, because I think they probably also
Yeah,
have very busy life, hectic work schedules.
sure. Even Korea or Japan, where yeah,
Yeah,
it's more high production in those cities, and even in Canada, Toronto, right? Like, yeah, I would
yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
There's no
Also,
time to eat.
there's also age trend in that older people tend to have at a higher frequency of eating alone. Those over age 50 are more
Oh,
likely to eat alone.
that's so
One in
sad.
fourth. Yeah, one in fourth in this age group, which is the
Oh,
highest. I know it's very sad.
if you're 50 years old out there, just send us an email. We'll eat with you. Don't eat alone. You
I
can
know
eat with a very messy 6-year-old. How about that, everyone? You can step on Cheerios and, the noodles that fall on the floor.
I know. Oh my God. I know it doesn't make me feel good. I was like, when I get older, does that mean I'm gonna have more? Is it like
Set a new trend, Hoshin. Just be
let's
like,
hope
that
so.
is, yeah.
People who are listening to us set a new trend for
That's
all of
right.
us,
If you're
please.
25 now, just make a goal that in 25 years you will continue that trend of eating with people. Don't eat
I know.
alone.
Ask people to eat with you. Make dinner with
Yes.
everyone. Communal eating. We
Yes.
love that. Oh my
It is
God,
so
it's
good.
good for you.
Yeah.
Again, the research says it's good for you.
It does. If the research says it, do it. Come on.
And so it's Harvard.
Harvard. Yeah. They're
I
like
know.
they're like the golden tablet of research. Well, not really. I would, yeah. Anyway, I wouldn't
Yeah,
say
I
they
would know.
are. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. But anyway, I think since food is such a social thing,
Mm,
and of course, through this social, it creates culture, obviously.
mm,
And food as such a, like I would say, a manifestation of culture, like such a
yes.
physical representation of culture as well in us in every aspect of our life.
Right. Right.
Um, yeah. I mean, there's many stories or examples you can give, just like chopsticks, for example. I use chopsticks to eat. You use fork and knife to eat, I assume.
I well I
Growing up, I mean, that is a different part of our cultural representation. Even the tools
true.
we use to eat food is so
Yes.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do try to challenge myself by intentionally choosing chopsticks when I eat noodles because I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I gotta sharpen this little brain here. So I do. I intentionally use them, even though everyone else is using fork and knife. Are
I
you proud
am
of me?
glad. I am
Are you
very
proud of
proud of
me?
you. You better teach Lincoln to use chopsticks too.
I will. I will. Yes. And you get the little practice ones.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
good.
It's good.
Some culture even use hands to eat.
Right. No, they do. When I was in India, we only used our hands. And then you had in Nepal as well, they would bring little bowls of warm water after your meal. And then you would
Yeah.
rinse your hands in that warm water because you had food on your fingers and you needed to
Yeah.
drink tea or have sweets afterwards. So, yeah.
Yeah. So like it's such a cultural thing. And talking about chopstick, also remember again another great story to represent how much like even the tool we use for food, such an important part of history and culture. I think most people will assume like maybe Asia, East Asia, and Southeast Asia. Most people use chopsticks, which is true.
Yeah.
Most countries use chopsticks, except Thailand is one of them
Wait,
that
what?
does
Really?
not use chopsticks. Yeah, I remember the first time I visited Thailand, you would go to a restaurant on the tables, like this empty table with a plate, and then they put fork and knife there. And I was surprised, remember. It
What?
was not a Western, like this like Western restaurant. It was like a Thai restaurant and they have like fork and knife. I was surprised. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, And then that's the first thing I noticed. I was like, oh, I thought this is Asia, it should be chopsticks, but it's not. And then I look into it.
Wow.
It's because of King Rama the Fourth,
Okay.
which is he reigned about mid 1800s.
Okay.
When he was hosting the British Council for dinner, and was like taken by the Western fork and spoon combination, and then he decided to make these two pieces of cutlery the norm in Thailand.
Wow. So he was just like, those, I think, let's do that. And so he
Yeah,
just did it.
he just did
That's
it. He said,
so
"Oh,
interesting.
this is the norm now. We don't care about
And what did
the
they do before?
influence."
Yeah, what did they
They
do?
use hands. They
They
also
used their
use hands.
hands.
They use the hands to eat
Wow.
before. Yeah, I mean, I think most people also know that Thailand was also occupied by the British for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've
Yeah.
seen King and I, you also know that.
Yes. Oh, I'm trying to remember a
Uh,
song from that musical, but I can't.
I
And
also cannot
I
remember the
I
music.
went into like My Fair Lady. I don't know, another musical that was like, oh,
Another-
that's not the Anyway,
Yeah.
that's very
So
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, so it's a great example of that. When it comes to food, do you know, Andrew, do you know any food that also heavily cultured? Like it's
Yeah.
very such a culture symbol?
Yeah, I think this is true of the UK, Britain, but also Canada is fish and chips. Fish and
Oh
chips
yeah.
is a big thing. And actually, I was looking up and there is research to show that like fish and chips is the number one takeout item of Canada.
Ooh, didn't
Yeah,
know
in the
that.
States, it's Chinese food. But in Canada, it's actually fish and chips. And I can link
Oh.
that data, of course, into our website. But did you know that the British staple of fish and chips actually came from somewhere else? It was actually during
Oh.
Sephardi, I think I'm saying that right, expulsion from Iberia. The Portuguese Jews came to the UK seeking refuge and brought with them their recipe of battered white fish, which actually helped them preserve their fish to last during their Shabbat, which is their day of rest, right? So Sundays or Saturdays, sorry, they don't cook. So they needed something to help keep the fish from spoiling. And so they would batter it. And when they brought it to the UK, it was adapted by the British, that's a huge staple in the UK and even Canada. So that was a really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
very
I
cool.
know.
See,
Thank you, Portuguese
again,
Jews. Come on. This is awesome.
it's awesome.
It
Another
is.
example of how food is like heavily cultured and
Yeah.
is such a strong link to history. And
Yeah.
then now everyone's look at fish and chips, they just think about the British.
Oh,
Think it
yeah.
is like
I
a
know.
this
No one
British
would think
thing.
Portugal. No.
No one would think. But that's
No.
that. Yeah, because the British people make it very famous.
Right. Oh,
And that's all that people
colonialism.
think about.
Ugh.
Colonialism, very true.
Yes, indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of example like that, like when one country make one food famous and people forget, or the origin of that,
True.
where that food come from actually is forgotten.
True.
You know,
That's true.
like
Yeah.
I can give
Yeah.
another example is like oh no, it's actually not a good example. Like French fries.
Okay.
Actually it's Belgium. Belgium is invented it, but they call it French fries because the Americans that first time had it was in the French part of Belgium, and then they call it French fries
Oh my gosh. I did
because they
not
speak
know
French.
that.
Yeah,
Oh
it was
my
actually not France, it's
gosh. Oh my
Belgian, because
gosh.
it's just because the person who
That's
was
so
trying that.
funny.
It's really funny because with the French part of Belgium.
Well, I speak French, right? French
I
fry,
don't.
French bread. I know. It's awful. It's awful. It's such a dumb joke. Anyway, no one
Great
has to
joke.
laugh. Yes.
Yeah. I also want to give another example of like
Yeah.
food that is a very cultural and that's heavily tied to culture and in history is Korean fried chicken. I learned that not long ago, which is a very interesting history of that.
Okay.
Well, we all know Korean fried chicken, and the other fried chicken, famous fried chicken is in the States, obviously. The south of the
Okay.
States,
Okay.
also
Yeah.
really famous for fried chicken. And what none of us knew, not maybe some of you knew, I didn't know,
Yeah.
they're very also correlated. The Korean fried chicken we know nowadays also was influenced by Americans fried chicken, because during the 1950s, when the States was involved in the Korean War, some of the African American soldiers were in Korea, and they
Yeah.
were also, yeah, and then they
Cooking.
also, yeah, cooking and teach
Yeah.
they bought their recipe, the way of cooking fried chicken to Korea, which is
Oh my
combined with the Korean way
gosh.
of cooking fried chicken. And now you have your modern day Korean fried chicken.
That is so cool. And
It's really cool.
when I actually recently learned that Korean fried chicken was a thing. And that's only because, excuse me, I'm gluten intolerant and I have been for like 15 years. So I just understand that, oh, that's made with flour. You can't have that. So,
Yeah.
so I think that's part of it. But that's really, really neat, just like the roots of things and where they come from.
Yeah. Do you have
Yeah.
another story to share with us
Well,
about
yeah,
that?
there's another I think it's, am I saying this right? Nikai?
Yeah.
It's a cuisine born from Japanese migration to Peru, where cooks actually use Peruvian ingredients prepared with Japanese methods. So it's this beautiful fusion of two countries coming together in like one food. So it's like it's new flavors and textures, but it also is this cultural history of Japanese migration with Peruvian culture and traditions. So I haven't tried Nikai yet.
Me neither.
Yeah, but it sounds amazing. I mean, this speaks to kind of this concept called food globalization. And I think
Mm-hmm.
for listeners, maybe a lot of people may not be familiar, but globalization in essence is like the fusion of the world where countries intersect in different aspects of life. That might be culture, it might be food, it might be language, it might be fashion, it might be um, social entertainment, whatever it is. But that this fusion of different countries and our cuisines, it actually affects our cultural knowledge. So, when sushi was introduced to America or even Canada, not a lot of people knew about sushi or like why fish, and that it came
Yeah,
from a port city or a port country where they were surrounded by water, right? So it increases our knowledge, but also our language. So a lot of like key terms that we use in the kitchen, like we use a lot of French terms in cooking.
we
Um,
do. We do.
and then it also just our relationship with countries through the food trade, right? Like things that we import, like bananas. Bananas, come on, they don't grow in Canada, but we import them, right? Usually from California or Mexico. But it is this, we are so interconnected in our food in such a huge way. So food
Yeah.
globalization, yeah.
I mean, especially if you live in the cities, if you go to like you go to any streets, you look around, there's so many different kind of cuisine just exist in the same on the same streets,
Yeah,
on the same
yeah.
block.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last aspect I think I want to talk about is food. As mentioned, is very social. It's so heavily tied to our culture, to our history. Of course, it also tied to our identity of who we are.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such
Yeah.
an important part of us because like even like funny enough, I always think when they talk about food and human or food and identity, I always think about these terms we use in queer communities that, do you know what rice queens and potato queens are?
I only can know what a rice, I'm imagining a rice queen is, well, no, I don't know. I don't know.
Rice queen is to describe some people that only into Asians.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
potato queen is or describe someone only into white people. Like I know it's very stupid and also
Potato.
there's a lot of racism involved there in that term, but I just want to point out that in that
It's really
term
funny.
they use food to describe people in some sense. They use
Sure.
rice to
Yes.
generalize Asian, use potato to
Yes.
generalize white people. I know it's not
Yeah.
right or whatever, but it also says how like even in our language, how much we
Yes.
tied people's identity into food.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I grew up hearing that white people are like crackers. Like crackers.
True, for example.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like, well,
I thought
I
cracker
mean,
is also like a
kind of
not a good.
salty and
I thought
thin.
cracker is not a good term to describe to use for white people. No.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of
No.
like
Or
the N
toast.
word. No.
Or toast. I mean,
Or to,
no, it's not the equivalent as the N word just because of
yeah,
the levels of oppression.
oppression. True. Yeah,
Right.
but it's
Yeah.
yeah.
So definitely not. But yes, it is kind of a derogatory term, but I'm like, I don't know. I mean, sure, why not? I'll be a cracker.
Yeah,
Put some
but
butter
yeah,
on
for
me, make me taste good.
yeah, so like this kind of ingredients in some sense really tells where we are from and who we are. Like I do
Mm,
like to eat rice. Like it's something that we'll never get bored of because I'm so accustomed to it.
yeah,
And you, I know you are very different because you have gluten sensitivity.
I
So probably for
do.
you,
Yeah.
bread is not your
No.
common.
But
Yeah, you don't
corn,
identify
my
corn.
my
Yeah.
Mexican roots, yes. So I do love corn. I can eat corn till the cows come home. But yeah, corn or maíz is what you would say in Espanol.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Maize, yes,
yes.
tortillas.
Mm-hmm,
Example, yes,
exactly.
true.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I would assume maize is such a cultural identity, such a identity item for them,
Yeah.
for maybe the South Americans or Latin
Mm-hmm.
America. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it should be
Mm-hmm.
important part. Or like sometimes even like some sort of food choices like veganism. I
Yeah.
mean, oh come on, like veganism, I personally think people who are vegan, like that veganism is really that like their whole identity is on that.
Yes, I have met some people that there's no compromise, that's who
There's
they
no
are
yeah.
through and through. And I can respect some of the kind of the foundational beliefs around that, but I also think it's quite evangelized, in the West, at least it is here. I see the heart again in it, but I also think that it actually kind of can push out and away culture. Um,
I I agree. I mean, I would like to believe the intents of these people are good, why they do choose
mhm,
veganism, but I think yeah, maybe the execution of or how they view about their choice and how
right.
they push it that agenda, quote unquote, out can be a bit, sometimes can be a bit, oh,
Yeah, and
yeah.
we love you vegans out there. We really,
Yeah,
really
we
do.
do. We do. Like I said,
We
we believe in
do.
your course. We
Yes.
believe in course. We are
Yes.
weak. We cannot
Yes.
commit to that, and that's just my weakness.
Yeah, but I think it also speaks to, I know that with indigenous cultures, I think I was looking at veganism for a while and I was looking at kind of, entertaining that idea, but the what I think has happened is it's like the food sourcing and even the cultural practice of like indigenous cultures in Canada who relied on a lot of whale and seal and different kinds of meats that we just would not buy out of the store, right? Because of
Yeah.
maybe some of our quote unquote ethical problems that we have. And then I would say we as white people have. I won't say that to reflect everyone else, but I feel like there is this tug of war of like or can be of like this is what is a good eating habit lifestyle. Well, but you can't eliminate culture from that
Yeah.
because, right?
Food and culture, you cannot separate them. I
No,
don't think you can
it's
at
who you
all.
are,
Yeah.
like you said. Yeah.
I'm glad that you also bring out the indigenous practice around food because food
Yeah.
itself is also tied to traditions too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I also bumped into this report when I'm doing research. Dr. Lenore Newman, I'm
Okay.
probably butchered that name,
Okay.
who is the Canada Research Chair for Food Security and Environment, and an
Okay.
author of speaking of a book called "Speaking in Tongues: Canadian Culinary Journey."
Mm.
She was saying that during colonial times, Canada actually used food as a weapon.
Yeah.
Food is being used as a weapon towards indigenous.
Yes. Yeah.
And I look into that article she said about this. At the beginning, when settlers came in, they actually heavily rely on indigenous food because, again, they're in a new land. They don't know what is available,
Yeah.
and the indigenous
They
have been
didn't know
living
the
there
migration
forever.
patterns. Yeah.
They don't know
Mm-hmm.
anything. But
Mm-hmm.
so they, at the beginning of it, was heavily relying on them to stay fed.
Right.
Yeah, and after they had some sort of understanding of the land, and then they also moved a lot of cattle from Europe, they started to less and less relying on them, and then of course like colonization starting more heavily on the
Right.
indigenous land in Canada. They slowly will, because they know what they need to eat, what land they need to use to where they need to go
Yes.
for this food. They
Yep.
slowly will use that to against
Yes.
indigenous people, and it would ban them even to for certain cultural practice that's
Yep.
around food or cooking a certain
Mm-hmm.
way,
Mm-hmm.
especially during, of course, the residential school era. And
Yeah.
because that, if that is lost, a huge part of culture is lost,
It
obviously, how
is.
to
And it
cook, how
and
to
it
eat.
was, yeah. And it still is. I think, if I highly recommend 21 Things You May Not Know About the Indian Act, but that was part of the things under the Indian Act was limiting people's ability to move, and keeping them on reserves. So indigenous people would travel with the migration, right? So if the buffalo were going up north during a certain time of year, they'd follow that. Or if the salmon came down to spawn, right? So there was all of these rhythms and habits. And yeah, with colonialism and with the genocide that happened in Canada, that became no more. Indigenous people could not. And so that food source sustainability and sourcing and an agency that Indigenous people are still working hard to gain even
Yeah.
now, because they're still limited on the reserves, like how much fish they can catch, and they're still
It,
limited, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it is very sad that yeah, that
Yeah.
people use this kind of important part of culture of identities to use against people. It's just ugh.
Yeah, which ties to the beginning. It's like we both talked about like our favorite foods, right? And what is it like for you? It was this idea of
Kanji,
being,
yeah.
yeah, of
Yeah.
being taken care of, right? That it's tied to a memory of when you were sick, or a tradition, right? So for you, like that's why it's so important that food and culture um, are protected, are
Yeah,
celebrated, because it is a part of who we are, and it's a part of who we are together.
I agree. Like for example, I think I will be a very different person if for some kanji's banned. Or I have to eat without chopsticks ever, like forever. I will
Right.
be very sad
Mm-hmm.
as well. Like this kind of ways around food and about food that is
Mm-hmm.
it's so embedded in how I see myself. If that's taken away
Right.
from me, I will be a very
Mm-hmm.
different person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like I am almost relearning what that looks like, that relationship, because while I may not have memories or traditions, I want to create those for my son.
Exactly. Or
That every Saturday we do this, or when you're sick, this is what mom makes you, right?
exactly. Like yeah, if you don't have it, create it for yourself. And
Yeah.
to be honest, maybe you think you don't have it, but I think you Andrea, that you are, for example, I know you're also lactose intolerant. I'm also lactose intolerant. You're
Yes.
also gluten intolerant. Like
Cows.
you're,
Rude.
yeah.
No, it's
But
not your fault. It's
again,
not your fault.
this kind of like food intolerance, food item intolerance will become part of ourselves. It's also a part of our identity,
Yeah, it is.
right?
It
And
is. It
then
really is. Yeah.
so like it also change how our social dynamics too. Like when we go out together, my friends, okay, oh, we cannot have dairy, for example. And
True.
when we have potlucks, we know to make food that is gluten free and dairy free for you, for
Right.
example. Like it
Yeah,
is this kind of food related items very heavily injected in your social life,
it
your
is.
relationship with people.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe you don't think you have food items that is like a specific title of memory, but you have so many food related relationships
Yeah.
they are created around food already.
It's true. Yeah. No, it's true. And I'm glad that even with being an adult now, and it's never too late to find out what those relationships are.
Yeah.
Because even though, yes, my mom made hamburger helper all the time, which was box noodles, seasoned packet of seasoning, and then we would stir fry just meat, like it might be ground pork or ground beef. You combine it all together. It's kind of this, and then you just eat it. Even though that was very unhealthy and it was, boxed, it was still something that she made, and that is a
Oh,
memory of home, right? So not
oh.
that I ever crave it because it's pretty gross, but
You
that's my
remember that.
relationship. Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
that's really,
So,
and also want to share another thing about you about food is coffee. I know you,
oh yeah,
it's also
that's
such an
true.
important part of you. You love coffee, especially from
It
Portland. I
is.
remember you mentioned so many times that coffee in Portland is so much better, you
Yes.
know.
I'm
Yeah,
such a
I mean,
snob. Yes.
it's okay, and that's
But
okay. But again, that's
yeah,
part of you, and that's part of your tie to where you are from.
it's
Is
true. It's
every
true.
day that cup of coffee that you have in your hand, you
Yeah.
might not be as good as you think, but because maybe it's not as good as you think, every time you have a good cup
Like,
of coffee,
oh,
I will
tears.
assume it will remind you of Portland, isn't it?
It does, but actually, can I say real quick, it is a memory.
Yeah.
So, growing up, my dad would wake up early because he was a letter carrier. So, we had to deliver the mail to the masses and had to get up real early. And he would just brew a whole pot of coffee, fill it in his, carafe, his thermos to take with him. And then he would leave. And when I would be kind of coming out of my sleep early in the morning. I would smell his coffee. This was around high school. And it just had this sense of safety. My dad was up before the rest of us. There was someone in the home. He was our provider. He went to work for us. He worked really hard. And so coffee is this nostalgic piece that, that led me to be working in coffee shops later because I did love it so much and I still love it so much. But it did start, when I was a
See?
kid, about who I am. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks for bringing that out in me.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
like maybe we don't necessarily realize that of why we like certain food, why certain flavor that we're just more drawn to. But I am a heavy believer that all our favorite things or our favorite flavors always some sort of reason lead us to that. And usually it's tied to some sort of great
Yeah.
memory. I would like to
Yeah.
believe at least.
Yes. No, I like that. I think you're right on, actually. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks for
So
sharing all of this, Hoshin.
no problem, of
Yeah. It's been
course.
really
I love that.
good. Yeah.
I love food.
But
Yes.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but now let's go to our next
Our
section.
quiz.
Our quiz, Canadian pop
Yes.
quiz.
I
We're
am
gonna ask
so,
each other
yes.
questions that we
Yes.
didn't know, that we don't know
We don't
previous,
know. We don't know the
beforehand.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's see who get the answer this time. Do you want to go first?
Ooh, I would love to go first. This was actually, I knew we were preparing for this episode, and I had my quiz question before I researched anything. So, this is a fun one. Hoshin,
Go.
which instant food item was invented first? Instant noodles or TV dinners?
I will say TV dinners.
TV dinners were invented first. That's
Uh,
your final answer?
that's my final answer.
Ding, 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 ding. You're
I knew it.
right.
I knew it.
No, so 1953 was the official Swanson TV dinner. He had the Swanson Company had lots of turkey left over from their turkey Thanksgiving sales, didn't have a lot. And so someone had the idea that they would put them into these frozen TV dinners. And it wasn't until 1958 that Momofuku Ando, a Taiwanese-born Japanese man, was inspired to create ramen as a way to feed the war-torn country after seeing long lines for black market ramen. So
Mm.
yeah, so it didn't come out until 1958 because Japan's economic boom, they were in recovery from the post-war. So yes, TV dinners came out before your instant ramens. So
Okay. I
there you
mean, I
go.
know ramen is not that like long not that long ago, invented not that long ago. I just
Mm-hmm.
remember the ramen is quite early, like not that long ago. That's why I think probably
Yeah,
the pub. Yeah,
1958. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Anyway,
Thank you. Oh my God, I
yeah, you
got
did
it right.
it.
I'm so smart. Thank you.
You are. It's true, Master the
I
Grey
mean,
Man.
is also only two options. I have 50 chance to get it right.
It's
Thank you.
true. But you went with the TV dinner and not, but
True.
good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I should give you an option, also
Oh,
option
shoot.
to choose for
Okay.
my question too. Mine is also really interesting because I was just eating a tomato, or just like
Because you are a
and
tomato in the Great Canadian
and
Salad.
I love tomato. Yes, and I love
Yes, you
tomatoes.
are. I'm a
So my
pea.
question is, yeah. So my question is very easy. I would say it's easy.
Okay.
Where the tomatoes came from originally? Uh, you have one, the Mediterranean. Second,
Mm.
Southern America.
Oh, these are my two options.
Yes.
The Mediterranean.
The Mediterranean?
Yeah.
Final answer?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, baby. That's not
Really?
right. No.
No. Really?
Tomatoes. Yes,
South America?
originally. It's from South America. Yes. It originated in the Andes Mountains of South
Okay.
America. So probably mainly in like Peru and Ecuador-ish.
Okay.
And it's thought to have been domesticated in pre-Columbian Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's the Spanish, and they
Colonized and
I
then
got
they
the tomato, and then they brought it to Europe, and then of course nowadays we see tomato is such an important ingredient for Italian cuisines, and I would even
yes.
argue that they probably Italian make tomato famous.
Interesting. Oh my
But
gosh.
I know, but it's originally from South America. I would not associate that, to be
No,
honest.
I
I
wouldn't
would also
either.
sound
No.
yeah, but it is from there.
Wow. Well, thanks, South America.
I know. Thank you for your contribution to tomato.
Yeah, exactly.
Because without it, my cuisine, my
Ooh,
diet will be very
yes.
boring.
And you wouldn't know who you were in Canada.
I know, because
You
I
wouldn't
am a
know.
tomato.
Yes, that's right. Crunchy and sweet. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We stay tuned. There's some things in the works. We may have another podcast. We might be taking a couple week break. Just not sure. So stay tuned. But if you celebrate Christmas, happy Christmas, because it's a week from now. And yeah, stay warm.
Oh, happy Hanukkah, happy
Well,
Kwanzaa,
yeah, and that happened.
happy Yule.
Yes, happy Hanukkah
Yeah.
did. Yes, happy Yule, happy Kwanzaa, happy
Winter solstice.
with yes, Zostrin no Diso Day, and Bodhi Day. I know that was December 8th. So these are all, but yes, and if you enjoy your Boxing Day too, give to the poor on Amazon.
Oh,
Yeah.
give to the poor. Yes. Help local
Yes.
business. I went to a flea market and bought a ring. It was beautiful ring.
Oh my gosh, flea markets are the best.
I know. Help your local artists.
Yes, and buy lots of fleas. Just kidding.
I know.
Yes. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much. Take it easy. Enjoy the meal that you have. And we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, we will see you when we see you. We'll talk to you when we talk to you. Because again, it's our
That's right.
podcast.
That's
It's not
right.
yours.
Stay tuned.
So
mystery.
expect us at
Woo!
some point. You never know we're gonna come back.
That's true. That's true. But we will be back. We promise.
Yeah, subscribe to us so you know when you will first want to know if anything
That's
come
right.
out.
That's right. Absolutely.
Subscribe, and tell your friends, please. Tell your friends.
Please, more people listen.
I know we are amazing. Your friends will love us, and your
They
friends will also know that you have great taste.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
In
please
both your
work
food and your podcast likes. Yes.
Exactly. So you find us in all major platforms. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you'll find us.
That's right.
Or you can go follow us on Instagram, Canadian Podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
or you can email us, Canadian Podcasts. Canadian Salad Podcast at gmail.com.
That's right. That's right. Check out our website for all the resources so you can be smart just like us.
Yes. Oh, our
Yep.
Instagram is actually Canadian Salad. Sorry.
Canadian salad. That's right.
Spoken.
That's
yes.
okay. That's all right. You probably haven't eaten yet.
Yeah,
Go
I
eat.
haven't. I need to go food now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right, everyone. Take care. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Canadian Salad is written and produced in British Columbia, Canada by Hostion and Andrea McCoy. Theme music is by Naver Avetyan from Pixabay.
This has been a good Drinklin production.